the cold gaze of my father looking down at me. It was an unpleasant look, as if he were seeing something filthy. Leaving me behind as I struggled with a severe illness, he abandoned my mother and walked away. That woman is probably waiting for him outside. The woman who made my mother shed bitter tears.
Sarah, I'll raise her on my own. You're the one we don't need.
My mother's soul-shattering cry was met with a scoff as he turned his back on us. After the front door closed coldly, my mother and I cried so much. But a few days later, our painful situation changed drastically. No matter how much I ignored him, my father kept calling persistently, and I was finally able to say this to him. A father? I don't have one. The tables have already turned. There's nothing my mom and I are afraid of anymore.
I'm coming over now.
The man who used to be my father shouted. Mom and I decided to set a trap and wait for him. My name is Sarah. I'm just an ordinary 11-year-old girl. The only thing that sets me apart from others is that my body is very fragile. Ever since I can remember, I've been sickly and could hardly attend school properly. I spend most of my waking hours at home. I read books or draw pictures. I always feel guilty for being such a burden to my mom. My mom's name is Emily. Even though her health isn't great either, she works tirelessly from morning till night for my sake.
Sarah, you don't need to worry about anything. It's okay. I will do my best.
But there's someone who makes her already tough days even harder. That's my father, Bob. In the stories I usually read, there are plenty of lousy adults and bad people. To be honest, my dad was worse than any of them, both as a human being and as a parent. My earliest memories are of him making my mom cry. He never brought home the money he earned, spending his time wandering around and having fun instead. The water bill, electricity bill, gas bill, groceries. Everything in our house was paid by my mom. Even after being treated so cruelly by him, I'll never forget the sight of her desperately clinging to him.
Please, just try to help. Can't you think about your family even a little?
Get off me. You want to get knocked out or something?
My dad had a mistress. He didn't even try to hide it. Anyone would think my mom should have divorced a man like him right away. But it seemed she couldn't make that decision, having no family to rely on. She didn't want me to grow up as a child without parents, like she had. My cowardly father knew that all too well, and used it to torment her whenever he could.
You don't want Sarah to grow up with a single parent, right? Then keep your mouth shut about what I do.
Is that supposed to be something a father would say? You're the worst.
Shut up. Hey, you get it, don't you? Don't even think about running to my relatives or talking to anyone at work. You pull any stunts, and it's straight to divorce. Then Sarah will only have one parent.
I wasn't so much a daughter as a hostage. As I grew older, I started to despise how weak I was. If I had been stronger, I could have stood up to him with my mom. To make things worse, my dad wasn't just a terrible person. He also loved drinking and gambling. Because of that, he was always broke and apparently even caused trouble at work. From what I know, he changed jobs 5 times. At home, all he ever did was complain about his coworkers.
They all treat me like an idiot. Just wait. Those jerks will see soon enough.
Dad would go to work hungover and make big mistakes. Then, he'd try to blow off the stress from work by gambling. But whenever he lost, which he lost a lot, he'd take his anger out on my mom. He'd often wrestle her wallet away and take out cash, no matter how hard she tried to resist.
Stop it. Without that money, how are we supposed to get through this month?
Shut up. If you need money, sell your clothes or whatever.
Whenever my parents fought like that, I would curl up in my bed. I'd cover my ears, close my eyes, and tremble, waiting for the storm to pass. Eventually, I'd hear the front door slam shut, followed by the sound of my mom quietly sobbing. By then, my pillow was usually soaked with my own tears. I hated the environment I was stuck in with all my heart. With red, tear-swollen eyes, my mom would come into my room.
Sarah, I'm sorry for all the noise.
My mom always put on a brave smile. What else could I do but smile back and tell her everything was okay? One day, I noticed something alarming on my mom's head and couldn't stop myself from shouting, "Mom, your head, your hair."
Oh, this. Sorry, it looks awful, doesn't it?
A patch of her hair had fallen out completely. It was what people call alopecia areata. I was shocked, almost as if it had happened to me. What shook me even more was learning this wasn't the first time it had happened. With eyes clouded by resignation and exhaustion, my mom looked at me and smiled faintly.
It's okay. It'll grow back if I just leave it. It did before. And besides, it's in a spot no one will notice.
But, Mom, I'm sorry. I wish I were stronger for you.
What are you saying, Sarah? This isn't your fault. You must never blame yourself. Never.
What I can do for my mom. It was simply drawing pictures and giving them to her. Since I couldn't move around freely, I let my imagination take flight. On the white drawing paper, I used colored pencils and crayons to create vivid, lively worlds. I just wanted to make my mom smile. That strong desire has always been at the heart of my creativity, both now and in the past. One day, the doorbell rang, which is a rare occurrence. My mom's voice became tense as she answered it. It seemed like something bad had arrived.
My husband isn't here, so please leave.
Who could it be? The conversation through the intercom went on for a while, and eventually, Mom, who seemed to have been persuaded, opened the door. 3 large men walked in. All of them were in suits, their expressions equally stern. The scariest-looking one of them spoke up, saying that my dad owed them money. It seemed that today was the deadline for repayment.
My husband isn't home. I don't even know where he is. And we don't have the money to repay you.
She thought that being honest would make them understand. I'm sure that's what my mom was thinking. But it didn't work. The men started rummaging through the house. They opened drawers, searched cupboards, moved dressers, and even lifted up the carpet. When one of them pulled a small velvet box from the shelf, my mom's expression completely changed.
No, please, not that.
My mom, who had no family, lived in a group home until she graduated high school. When she left, the wife of the director gave her a special gift. It was a ring adorned with real gemstones, valuable enough to fetch a decent price if sold. In other words, the men had found and stolen my mom's most precious possession.
That ring is very important to me. Please, I'm begging you, give it back.
No matter how much my mom resisted, the men didn't budge. They kept turning the house upside down, looking for anything that might be worth some money. My mom, crying and screaming like a child, was completely frantic. I had never seen her so shaken before. After the men left, My mom collapsed into the mess they'd left behind and sat there, hunched over, for a long time. Then suddenly, she started moving, grabbing whatever was around her and throwing it aimlessly, crying and groaning. It was as if something she had been suppressing had burst out all at once, and it was terrifying. She rampaged like someone possessed. When I hugged her from behind, she came to her senses and started sobbing softly.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry.
Mom, you didn't do anything wrong. It's okay. Everything will be okay. The next day, once we had cleaned up the house, my dad came back to the room looking unusually cheerful. To my disbelief, my dad had brought a woman with him. She was a bold-looking, flashy woman.
Sorry about the mess, Lily. Emily. Coffee. Sarah, you're in the way. Go to the other room.
Oh, so this is the sick daughter? You better not, okay? Don't drag your dad down.
In the corner of the room, one of my drawings was lying on the floor. The woman called Lily picked it up without asking. Even when I reached out for it, she wouldn't give it back. In the end, she tossed it away like trash.
What a terrible drawing. No talent. Straight to the garbage.
That was the first time anyone had ever evaluated my artwork. Lily's mocking tone from that moment is something I'll never forget. Even as a child, I remember how deeply it hurt. Neither Lily nor my dad ever explicitly said what their relationship was, but it was painfully obvious to anyone. The two of them were clearly having an affair, a partner bringing its mistress into the house. And on top of that, being made to serve coffee to the mistress. I can't even begin to imagine the humiliation my mom must have felt. And then, taking advantage of a brief distraction, my dad snatched my mom's wallet.
No, stop. You can't take that money.
You idiot. If you didn't want it stolen, you should have hidden it better.
That's for Sarah's medical bills. Please, I'm begging you, don't take it.
My mom desperately tried to get the money back. My dad ran around the room, mocking her as she chased him. Watching the two of them, Lily laughed loudly. It was a sickening sight.
Hey Lily, let's go grab a drink. Staying here is suffocating.
All right. Bye-bye. Save up some more money for me, okay?
My dad turned the money my mom had earned for my medical bills into bar money for his mistress. Most people wouldn't be capable of doing such a thing, but my dad was different. He probably didn't care at all what happened to my mom or me. When my mom, crying and clinging to him, tried to stop him, he shoved her roughly and left with Lily. That happened shortly after I turned 11. Not long after, my health started to worsen. I began to get fevers more often, and I had pain all over my body that made it hard to get out of bed. When my mom took me to the hospital, I was diagnosed with a terrifying illness. Childhood cancer? Me? My mom had likely already heard everything from the doctor, and her eyes were wet with tears. Her makeup had run, leaving her face a mess. Why did all of this have to happen to me? From here on, my health would only worsen. The battle with my illness would become more grueling, and the treatment costs would pile up. I was sure my mom would work herself to the bone to pay for everything. But my dad would just use that money for his bar tabs. To be honest, my future felt pitch black. When things got this bad, all I could do was laugh. But I didn't lose control. Instead, I felt a strange sense of calm settle over me. What about drawing? Can I still draw, even with childhood cancer? The doctor firmly assured me that I could. He even suggested not only displaying my drawings, but also putting them up for sale. Nowadays, individuals can connect with people around the world and showcase themselves. There are countless ways to sell paintings. The doctor himself mentioned that he likes art, and even he said that he wanted to buy one of my drawings. There are plenty of my drawings at home. I had never considered the idea of pricing them and selling them. Mom and I immediately began gathering information about selling art and registered on online platforms. Some were auction-based websites, while others were platforms for gathering fans or patrons. A few days later, my dad, who had been away for a long time, returned home. It seemed he had come back to grab some clothes, as he silently started stuffing them into a bag. When I told him about my diagnosis with childhood cancer, he shockingly snorted in laughter.
So, it's over then? You'll be kicking the bucket soon, right?
How could you say such a thing to your own daughter?
It's the truth, isn't it? Good for you, Emily. No more dead weight holding you back.
Enough already.
My dad stood up. His cold gaze looked down on me. It was an expression of pure disgust, as if he were staring at something filthy. He left, abandoning me with childhood cancer and my mom. I'm sure Lily was waiting for him outside, the woman who had brought my mom to tears of frustration.
See ya, Sarah. A sick kid like you isn't my child. Honestly, it would have been better if you weren't around from the start. I'll live my life the way I want, so you guys do whatever you want too.
I'll raise Sarah on my own. You're the one we don't need.
My mom's cry from the depths of her soul was met with a scoff as my dad turned his back on us. After the front door closed coldly, my mom and I hugged each other and cried. But those tears were tears of relief. Tears of joy at being free from such a terrible man. One day, while I was drawing in my room as usual, my mom's phone rang. It was a call from my dad, which hadn't happened in a long time. He asked to speak with me. I set my pencil down and picked up the phone. His voice sounded overly cheerful and oddly buoyant.
Hey, Sarah. Long time no see. How's your illness? You doing okay?
What do you want? If it's nothing important, I'd like to hang up.
Hey, don't be so cold. I'm your real father, you know?
A father? I don't have one. I heard a sharp clicking sound from his side of the phone. He was clearly irritated by my lack of enthusiasm. How selfish could one man be? I started to feel sick of dealing with him. Why don't you just be honest? You found out my paintings are selling for a lot, didn't you?
That's right. Exactly. Sarah, who knew you had such talent for art? I saw the TV interview. It was something like the girl who keeps painting while battling illness, right? I have to say, as your father, I felt so proud.
Yes, it's true. My work is now receiving high praise worldwide. Thanks to the doctor's advice, I started selling my pieces online, and the results have been incredible. Every time I release new work, it gets auctioned off for increasingly high prices. Now, my bank account receives unbelievable sums of money every month. I had my mom quit all her jobs so she could focus entirely on taking care of me. We get to spend more time together, and my mom's health has visibly improved. It's been nothing but positive. I had long expected that I'd eventually hear from my dad like this. I knew he'd try to butter me up and find a way to leech off me.
I heard you're streaming videos of yourself drawing now, and you've got 200,000 subscribers or something. That alone should be enough to live off of, right? Man, you're really amazing.
Thanks. Is that all you wanted to talk about? If so, I'm hanging up.
Wait, that's not it. Listen, Sarah, I need to talk to you. I haven't been feeling great lately and can't work much. I'm completely out of money.
Oh, I see. That's too bad. Well then, goodbye.
Wait, don't hang up. Come on, I'm begging you. You get it, don't you? Just a little, please. Give me some money. You're raking it in, aren't you? You can spare some for your old man, right?
What a pathetic man. Does he even know what shame is? This is the same person who looked at me like I was trash and abandoned me. But as soon as the tides changed, he flipped and started groveling. What a worthless man. It was beyond ridiculous. Neither my mom nor I had any intention of giving even a single cent to such a horrible person. Why should I give you money? It makes no sense at all.
What do you mean it makes no sense? I'm your father, and you're my daughter. That's reason enough.
Have you already forgotten that you said a sick kid like me wasn't your child?
Well, that was just, a slip of the tongue. I didn't really mean it.
If he thought I'd fall for such an obvious lie, he was gravely mistaken. I flatly rejected him. No matter what he said, I refused to give in. Eventually, the groveling tone he had been using disappeared, and he began to show his true, disgusting nature.
Hey, that's enough. You're getting too full of yourself because I've been acting nice. Do you even realize who made it possible for you to be born? You owe me. It's time for you to repay that debt to your father.
I don't owe you anything. If anything, I resent you. Don't you get it? All you've ever done is hurt and make my mom and me cry. Don't start acting like a father now.
Oh, is that so? Fine. Got it. I'm coming over right now. You better be ready.
That's what he growled. Bring it on. I knew it would come to this. The time had finally arrived. After being on the receiving end for so long, it was time to return the favor all at once. I ended the call and told my mom that my dad was on his way. She nodded.
Just as planned. Let's make the calls and get everything ready.
Right. I'll prepare a new canvas too. I've thought of something else I want to paint. Lately, I've been overflowing with creative energy. It's so exciting to see the results that I can't stop drawing. Deep down, some of that passion came from my anger toward my dad. In that sense, maybe I should thank him. A few hours later, my dad arrived. His mistress, Lily, was with him. The icy looks they gave my mom and me were unmistakable. My dad glanced around the room and let out a mocking snort.
A tripod, a camera, canvases, easels. What's with all these paints and brushes? Oh, I get it. You're pretending to be some big shot artist? The dying childhood cancer patient pouring her soul into painting, right?
So, where are the paintings? From what I can see, there's not a single one here. Did you hide them? Last time, they were just lying around. Come on, hurry up and bring them out.
Their words were nothing but insults. I felt a burning anger rise within me. I hadn't forgotten Lily's snide comment about my work being terrible. Not that her taste in art had any credibility.
Sarah's works are all under my care. but I won't tell you where they are.
Honestly, we don't care about the paintings. Just hand over the money. You make it, and we take it. That's a win-win for everyone. Let's just go back to how things used to be. That works, right?
No, it doesn't. Why on earth should Sarah give you the money she earned for her art? It doesn't make sense. Even a child could understand that.
Both my dad and Lily seemed stunned by my mom's unusually assertive tone. Since quitting her job and focusing entirely on taking care of me and herself, my mom had changed. Her complexion had improved, her eyes sparkled again, and she looked like she was brimming with energy, both mentally and physically.
And you know what, Bob? You've done nothing but make my life miserable all these years. Like Sarah said over the phone, I have plenty of resentment, but not a shred of gratitude towards you. Don't expect to get a single cent from me.
Oh, scary. The moment you've got some money, you start acting like this. Don't underestimate me, you ugly woman. I can overpower 2 women like you anytime I want. You want me to teach you a lesson?
Force? Go ahead and try if you think you can. Let me remind you, thanks to someone like you, I developed alopecia areata, and I lost the precious jewel given to me by someone I truly respected. So come at me. I'll make sure you understand just how angry I am.
Those were such bold and aggressive words, something my mom would never have said just a short while ago. She was full of determination. Around the room were sharp objects like pencils and painting knives. If my dad tried anything reckless, he'd likely regret it. Realizing this, he just glared but didn't make a move.
Wow. You've sure gotten strong, haven't you? Like a completely different person from before.
That's right. I've reflected on my past and turned my life around. I regret all the pain I caused Sarah because of my own weakness. I should have divorced a man like you a long time ago. In fact, we never needed you in the first place.
Oh, really? So what now? You're gonna kick me out?
My dad stepped forward. Not backing down, my mom stepped forward too.
Of course, I'm kicking you out. You don't belong here. And just so you know, I'm going to sue you. I'll be filing a case with the court, so you better prepare yourself.
What? What kind of nonsense is that? Sue me? For what?
I'll take it to court and tell them everything. How I was mistreated by my husband every single day and made to suffer. I even have medical records from when I went to the hospital for my alopecia. There's no way you're getting out of this, so prepare yourself.
We have more than enough money to cover the legal fees. Through managing my work and finances, I've had the chance to connect with an excellent attorney. On top of that, I'm now somewhat of a public figure. If someone were to harm my mom, there's no way they'd get away with it. In short, my dad had already lost a long time ago. There's no way he could stand a chance against who we are now. Finally realizing this, my dad broke into a nervous laugh.
Come on, don't get so mad. I get it, okay? I don't want to escalate things. I'll back off. I'm not looking to get arrested or stabbed in the back by one of Sarah's fans.
Then what are you going to do? The only option left is to leave quietly.
Don't be so cold. Think about it. There were times when I acted like a father, weren't there? I brought home gifts now and then, complimented the food, and even put some money into the household. Right? Give me some credit for that.
Give me some credit? How shameless can one person be? Because of him, my mom and I endured so much pain and cried nearly every day. All I have are memories of the suffering he caused us. I don't have a single memory of him ever doing anything fatherly for me. But it seemed clear that neither he nor Lily would leave, no matter how many times we told them to go. My mom and I exchanged a look, silently agreeing on what to do next. We decided to let the two of them fight and destroy each other. Fine. All right. I'm willing to part with my paintings.
Really? That's my girl, Sarah. You're such a sweet daughter.
Thank you, Sarah. So, where are the paintings?
My dad and Lily darted their eyes around the room, searching eagerly. Their greedy, expectant expressions filled me with disgust. They're not here, and I haven't decided which one of you I'm going to give them to yet.
What? One of us. Obviously, it's going to me as your father.
What? Didn't she just tell you to stop acting like a father? I have just as much right as you do. After all, I've never done anything to upset Sarah, unlike you.
My dad tried to edge closer to me, only for Lily to block his way. Just as expected. Neither of them cared about anything other than their own interests. What followed was a pathetic, nasty argument between the two supposed partners.
Listen to me, both of you. Bob is the absolute worst. He's been seeing other women besides me. Can you believe that? Acting all high and mighty when he's a good-for-nothing loser with no real skills.
You're the one seeing other people too. And by the way, don't you have a husband? Just because he's overseas for work doesn't mean you can run around playing games.
I don't care. He's probably fooling around too. We're even.
My dad and Lily continued their ugly argument. Watching them made me feel sick. The thought that the same blood as someone like him ran through my veins. Thinking about it made me wish I could replace all my blood or something. My mom was just as exasperated. Her eyes, cold and detached, said it all as she looked at my dad and Lily. It was the look of someone wondering why she had ever married a man like that. Then my mom's phone rang. Even the caller on the other end must have felt fed up watching this scene.
Hello. Yes, that's right. Okay, just a moment. I'll put you on speaker so everyone can hear, Mike.
Wait, what? Mike? Dad? You mean? No way.
Hey, Bob, I've been listening, and all I hear is you spouting selfish nonsense.
Dad? What? Wait, what's going on here?
From the phone on speaker mode, my grandfather's angry voice rang out. Mike was my dad's father, who he had commanded us not to contact for years. My mom had reached out to my dad's side of the family and explained why we had been estranged all this time. My dad had avoided his family home for a long time because he was afraid of my grandfather. He even forbade us from contacting them. But those restrictions didn't matter anymore. Now, my grandparents and extended family were firmly on my mom's and my side.
I hear you've been tormenting Emily and Sarah all this time. You've always been a no-good scoundrel, and you haven't changed one bit. Have you no shame?
Wait a second. Why is Dad involved in this? What do you even know?
I know everything. We've been watching this whole mess unfold.
Watching? Wait, does that mean through that camera over there?
Yes, that's exactly what it meant. In fact, I had been live streaming everything since the moment my dad and Lily arrived. I used the same process I usually did for my video streams. but I shared the stream's URL exclusively with my grandparents. My grandparents' house was full of relatives, and they had all been watching my dad's disgraceful behavior on the TV screen.
Do you have any idea how humiliated I felt watching my idiot son make an absolute fool of himself? And let me tell you something, Bob. I know everything now. Emily has already told me your address and where that mistress of yours lives. Get ready, Bob.
What? What are you saying? Are you planning to come here? Don't do it. Don't come.
Shut up. I'm going to grab you by the neck and make you apologize to Emily and Sarah right in front of them.
My grandfather's anger was real. Even through the phone, the intensity of it was overwhelming. My mom, standing firm, added to the pressure on my dad and Lily.
Don't bother trying to run. We already know your patterns, your license plate, and the hotels you frequent. We had a private investigator look into everything. It's only a matter of time before you're caught.
What? This is the worst. What is going on here?
This is the worst. There's no way out now. And it's all your fault, you useless idiot.
What did you say? You're the one who kept wasting money, which is why I had to come up with cash in the first place. You're the one who suggested selling Sarah's paintings. Have you forgotten that?
Even at this point, the two of them kept arguing. I was so fed up that I didn't even feel like saying anything anymore. Whatever happened to these two despicable adults from now on, I honestly didn't care. In the end, my dad and Lily fled far away by car. But a week later, they were caught by the police. The reason? They were caught shoplifting at a convenience store. Apparently, they had run out of money and had no other options. If they had been able to use their credit cards, they might have managed to live on the run for another month. But that didn't happen, because my mom had contacted Lily's husband overseas and had the cards canceled. At the police station, my grandfather showed up and, true to his word, grabbed his foolish son by the collar. After paying the fines and being released, my dad was brought before us by my grandfather.
I deeply apologize for all the trouble I've caused you.
He apologized deeply. Neither my mom nor I had any intention of forgiving him. But it felt like we finally reached a turning point. Right then and there, my dad was made to sign the divorce papers and was taken back to his parents' house in my grandfather's car. Watching his dejected figure walking away, I couldn't help but think he deserved it. My mom filed for $15,000 in alimony from my ex-dad. Considering the years of mistreatment she endured, it was a pretty lenient amount. My ex-dad was also ordered to pay alimony to Lily's husband. That amount was $20,000. He had been shamelessly using the man's house while he was away, so the amount was more than justified. My ex-dad took out loans to pay both sums in full. As a result, he's now drowning in debt. Naturally, my grandparents refused to help him. He's reportedly living in a small apartment owned by an acquaintance, slowly chipping away at the repayments. The bad reputation of my ex-dad, who tormented his wife and child, has spread throughout the community, and he'll be walking on eggshells for the rest of his life. For all the selfish freedom he enjoyed before, he'll now have to live as small as possible. Just recently, my ex-dad contacted my mom. I could even hear him yelling,
Help me. I can't take this anymore. I can't stand living like this. I'll do anything, just please help me.
Anything? Then never contact me again. That's all I want.
Wait, Emily. Emily, don't hang up. Emily.
As for Lily, she didn't fare any better than my ex-dad. Her husband, who had been working abroad, left her, throwing her out with nothing. She tried to rely on my ex-dad, but she couldn't get in touch with him and ended up homeless. Returning to her family wasn't an option either, as they had long since given up on her. As a result, she became homeless in less than a month. Now, she's reportedly living among other homeless people, being taken advantage of. Childhood cancers are generally more curable than adult cancers. They tend to respond better to treatments like radiation and chemotherapy. About 70 to 80% of cases are curable, and I was one of those lucky ones. With the money I earned from selling my paintings, I received the best treatment possible and successfully beat cancer. Now, I want to keep working passionately on my art and repay my mom for all the sacrifices she made. As the first step, I built a house with a garden. It's a large custom-built home packed with all the dreams my mom and I ever had. I have my own studio, and there's also a room set up for my mom to relax in. There's also a theater room and an island kitchen. It's absolutely perfect. If I hadn't gotten cancer and met that amazing doctor, I probably never would have started selling my art. Life really is unpredictable. You never know what might turn out to be a blessing in disguise.
We've been through a lot, but we made it through somehow.
Yeah, it was worth enduring. We should give ourselves credit for that. Looking back, life had been unbelievably cruel to my mom and me. Now it's only fair for plenty of happiness to come our way. Together, we'll continue to support each other and fill our days with smiles.